Hi, my name is Zeke Moreno, and this is my visual riffing presentation slash essay over Ansel Adams. And Ansel Adams is one of the most influential landscape photographers in American history, and some may even argue the most influential. My subject is the way Adams used light, texture, and scale to communicate a powerful vision of the world around us. And in this presentation, I'll also go over his historical role and what he did for photography as a whole, as well as some other movements that he did, like environmentalism. And I will also analyze some of his key works through semiotic and visual perspectives, and then present my own photograph as a riff on his style. And before I get into some of his history, this is a well-known quote he says. To the complaint, there are no people in these photographs, I respond, there are always two people, the photographer, and the viewer. And I think this just goes to show what he's trying to say and what he does with these photographs and what the messages he's trying to convey with these landscapes. Now, Ansel Adams was born in 1902 in San Francisco, California, and funny enough, originally his his he was originally a very talented musician before he got into photography, but that changed when he received a camera, his very first camera, which was a Kodak Brownie in 1916 during a trip to Yosemite. And then his interest in photography grew from there in the 1920s when he worked at the Sierra Club's Yosemite Lodge. And some would even consider Yosemite to be his first love because it's what got him into this business. Now, and some more important things that happened was he met Paul Strand in 1930, which will really set him on the path of photography. Some important things as well that he did was he developed the zone system. And basically what this did was it was a method that helped photographers precisely control exposure and the contrast for black and white film and printing. And this was a very important milestone in photography at the time. And another thing he did that he ended up doing was he co-founded the group F64 with other photographers like Edward Weston and Imogen Cunningham. Now, another important thing that he ended up doing was he was a very key pillar in environmentalism. His work is rooted in the cultural moment of American conversation, and Adams' photographs of Yosemite, Sierra Nevada, and national parks helped generate political support for environmental protection, and his art functioned as a visual argument about the necessity of preserving nature. And conceptually, his work is more about the scenery. It explored the relationship between humans and the vast, overwhelming natural spaces around us. His photographs always frame wilderness as a sacred, monumental, and beyond the scale of human ambition. One of the other important things that he did and that he was awarded before his untimely death in 1984, which was of heart disease, was he won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1980 for his contributions to photography in the national parks. Now, some of his important works was of the Golden Gate before the bridge, Yosemite Valley, like I said before, Tetons and Snake River, Denali and Wonder Lake, the burn trees in Owen Valley, California, and the cemetery statue in oil derricks in Long Beach, California of 1939. Now, one of the most important things you'll recognize in each and every one of these photos is it has a very distinct nature of what he's trying to say. And in the Golden Gate, as you can see, wants to show what we did to Golden Gate after the bridge. And this just shows what we ended up doing to the environment. And then this was another important one of obviously his first love, Yosemite Valley, and which was, like I said before, key to his development as a photographer and a place for which he felt great affinity. And the valley was also a place he photographed many times, and although this image may not be as famous as the clearing winter storm, which I'll talk about later, it takes in the same view, only with the magnificent mountains obscured by mist, revealing Adams' appreciation of the natural world and all of its infinite varieties. Some more photos here, as well as like the Tenton Snake River, Denali and Wonder Lake, and as well the grass and burned stump in Sierra Nevada, California in 1935. Now, here's the photo analysis that I want to go over of two key photos. Now, the one on the left is arguably his most well-known work, and that is Clearing Winter Storm. And on the right is Sand Dunes and Sunrise in Death Valley. What I want to go over right now is the Clearing Winter Storm, and I want to go over certain three of Lester's 6 perspectives that Mr. Adams uses on this photo, and we can see this with technical, semantic, and cultural perspective. Now, with technical, we see that Adam was very meticulous in exposure, and we see the textures of the clouds, the snow, the granite are held with perfect clarity, and the zone system creates a full tonal range from deep blacks to brilliant whites. And then in his dune images, he's using leading lines and high contrast curves to emphasize both motion and stillness. As for semantic, each element in his composition carried very important symbolic meaning. Like with the jagged mountains, for example, can mean permanence and power. And then the fog or mist means mystery. And the light breaking through clouds can signify as revelation. And finally, culture perspective. His photography became a visual language for American environmental identity as a whole. And these images help construct the idea that untouched wilderness is both beautiful and essential. He positioned nature as a national treasure, shaping how viewers conceptualize the American West as a whole. Now, for mine, I actually took this photo when I went on a trip in New Mexico with a group of my friends in White Sands. And my own photograph, which is also taken in the dune, riffs off of his composition strategies, but modifies the tone. Like Adams, I also I emphasized tonal contrast, like between deep blue sky and the bright sand. The side light creates defined textures in the sand ripples, and reflecting Adams' attention to micro detail. And the diagonal movement of the dune echoes the use of sweeping lines to structure the frame. And some more of the semantic perspective that I used in my own was rarely included, like with Adams, I rarely include direct human presence, but I introduced footprints in this photo, and which shift the meaning. The meaning, I mean, of Adams using nature as eternal and untouched, where mine is nature as a site of passage. And then for culture perspective, Adams framed wilderness as a sacred monument. Mine reflected modern solitude. And then obviously you can see the side that I was talking about earlier. Ansel Adams showed how photography can shape cultural ideas about nature, and his technical through his technical precision, symbolic choices, and cultural influence. He transformed American wilderness into an iconic visual language. My image draws from his contrast, composition, and textural detail, but introduces new meaning for the human trace, temporary presence, and shifting relationship between people and environment. Thank you for listening to me go over and talk about Ansel Adams. And here are my works cited.